has the sensors on there. All right, I think we're good on torque sequences. All right, we're back at the block, and I did something you guys weren't looking. If you haven't noticed, I painted the block. Yep, I sure did. I think it looks totally better than the dark color. I think it's just going to look great. Anyhow, it's like 3 coats of paint and a couple coats of clear, and it withstands heat up to 500 degrees. Duplicolor. Yep, that's a plug. Hopefully it stays on and I did it right. But I still have to take the tape off, Cathedral Ports and everything. But before we do that, let's take a look at the air intake manifold. Before we test fit the LS6 to see where the distance is between the 2 holes, I'm going to draw a little black line around each cathedral port just on the passenger side. And then so when we put it on there, the paint that I'm going to use will indicate where the other cathedral ports line up, and then we can decide if that's actually the way to go. I got an A+ in art. All right, let's do a comparison of the 2 air intakes. On the left, you have the original from the 5.3, and on the right, you have the LS6. And, you know, starting off, you have an obvious 3.5-inch difference. So, one of the reasons I picked, which I thought was an LS1, turns out to be an LS6, which is actually better. I'll show you why, or tell you why. Because of the low profile, of course. When I shut the hood, I think there's going to be a clearance issue. So that's why we're going with the LS6. Now, will it fit or not? I don't know. I haven't seen anybody do a video on how the ports line up. So we're going to do that. But let me flip it over and show you something. All right, they're upside down, so let's check it out. Let's go over here to the 5.3. You can look at the ports, they're upside down, but they're cathedral ports. So they just look like a bullet. And obviously the 5.3 takes in more volume of air. So the reason for using the LS6 is just for clearance, and it looks better. I don't want it to look like a truck engine, you know. I want it to look, I guess, like a 5.7, I don't know. But it's just for aesthetics. You're losing air volume when you use one of these compared to this. I mean, I don't know what the difference is, but it's obvious. You're going to lose the air volume. So let's look at the ports over here. The ports are rectangular with rounded curves. Also, there's a pad right here, and back over here, it's like a foam pad. It's supposed to stop the water from coming in and everything, but I took them off. On the LS1s, the center here, from here to here, it has like a hump, a ridge line that goes down the center. And that's one of the big differences between the LS1 and LS6. I'm almost positive. So that's what threw me off. I was looking at the bottom, I was like, wait a minute. This is not an LS1 because an LS1 has that, LS6 does not. And also I looked at the part number and it came out LS6. Anyways, what we're going to do is going to compare the size of the intake on the LS6 and the 5.3. So what I did is I measured the 2, and these are the numbers, and they're not exact. I did use a caliper, but you know, I could be off because I shake. Anyways, there's the LS6 on the right, and the overall height is 3.242, and the 5.3, the Vortex manifold, the Cathedral, is 3.162. The width, though, is very close. The width on the Cathedral is 0.983 and 0.990 on the LS6. As you can see, it's really close, so I don't know. I'm hoping this will cover totally up the Cathedral Ports when we match it up. So let's take a look at that. All right, let's look at the results. Now, it's not going to be exact because those were the old gaskets, so they weren't sticking up as much. I got new gaskets and everything, so you can get the gist at the bottom of it. The bottom and the top and side to side, it's going to match up. Looks like it pretty much matched up everywhere, and it is covering the Cathedral ports on the heads, so good. I just wanted to check that out, and it does work. All right, now that we've looked at the air intake comparison, we already did the overview of what we're doing. Well, we're doing it at now, but we're going to do the valley tray, the sensors, air intake, and the flywheel. That's all set up right here. We got the flywheel. It's already been painted. We actually had the valve cover brackets for the coils. We're going to actually install those today, hopefully. And we got the valley tray, which I did paint already. Now the throttle, I went ahead and painted as well. The steam tubes painted, and we got some knock sensor harness and some sensors over here just waiting to be installed. But first thing we're going to do is the valley tray, so let's get started. All right, just wanted to point something out real quick. All right, I bought the gasket kit for the block, and then I got one for the upper part of the engine. Now this gasket kit came with the this type of gasket for the valley tray. Now it fits this way, but you can see this kind of hangs over on this area. It's not going to interfere with anything that I can think of, but if you flip it over, I mean, it still lines up. The holes still line up, but this edge right here is going to interfere with the this is your oil sensor, so you need to make sure that that tab is flipped over. I just realized that. But anyhow. All right, the torque sequence is the same for the air intake and the valley tray. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the air intake is 89 inch-pounds. The valley tray is 18 foot-pounds. That's the front. You just go back and forth, basically. They're both the same sequence, so easy. All right, next up is the knock sensors. Install, can you see in there? There you go. You're gonna go ahead and torque these down to, according to the manufacturer, the knock sensors I got, they're recommending 15 to 20, no, the max you can put on it is 20 pounds. According to the manufacturer, 15 to 20 foot-pounds. I'm gonna split the difference. Next, we have the knock sensor harness. So what this does is you just lower it straight down onto the harness or the knock sensor, and these two clips on the sides will clip it in. When you take them out, you squeeze the outside and it'll unlock the clips. Those fit on pretty snug. Next is the camshaft position sensor. I did put a little oil right there just to make sure it goes into the hole smoothly. All right, there it is. I'm not going to tighten this down just yet because the bolt I'm using, I just put a coat of clear on there and letting it dry. Next, we'll put the oil sensor in. Hey, real quick, this is the oil pressure sensor. Yeah. It has a metal gasket right there. I think it's one of those crushable ones. So it's a one-time use. So if you ever replace this, you got to replace a gasket. I would just replace the whole unit. They are expensive, but anyways, it looks like it came with some kind of thread. I don't want to say locker, but gasket. But I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of plumber's tape on there just for GP. It's on as tight as I can get it. I know it's not torqued to specs, but as far as I can go. I noticed the difference between the two. You see this one has a longer neck right there. That's one of the reasons I can't get a socket over it. All right, next up is the steam line, and as I told you before, I painted it. And the gaskets that came with it are the new gaskets. They look like this. It's just rubberized on one side and plain on the other, so that's where the screw goes. It came with round gaskets, but I'm not able to use those. I don't know why. Anyways, I'm going to put this on. These are 106 inch-pounds. All right, next is the air intake and put it on the gaskets and the foam padding. Here's the gasket set. There's the throttle body gasket. You got to put these foam pads on. As you can see, I already ripped off the foam pads that were here. They were terrible. I'll just say, but you can see the mark. You see the mark where the old one was. So I'm just going to go along that mark. But basically, you just stick it on, trim it if you need to. It just fits in that way, but make sure it's all tight down. And you can use these divots in that hole as a guide as well, front and back. Here's the gasket of the throttle body. You're just going to pick it out and maneuver the other one in. There we go. That was it on that. Next is the, I'll call them, yeah, I guess they're Cathedral Ports, or the ports. You can see it's just flat. It's very smooth. And I don't want that. I want it to stick up a little bit. So hopefully the new one will, and I think it will. It can only go on one way because you have the little tab up in the right-hand corner. It's got a nice ridge line. It should create a nice seal. So let me go ahead and do the rest. Be back in a minute. There you have it, the air intake is in. It's got a nice seal underneath. That's what I'm looking at. If you're wondering why this is at this angle. It's looking good. And these are 89 inch pounds. 89 inch pounds all the way around. I left the hoses on because I didn't want to take them off, to tell you the truth. Next up is the throttle body, and just to let you know, I already greased put them on that torque sequence, or ultra torque fastener grease from ARP. These bolts get 106 inch pounds, so don't go crazy. Wow, that looks great. With the air intake and the throttle body on there, it gives it like a, I don't know, it kind of gives it a face. Pretty cool. When you're doing any of these bolts, you know, these are steel, or they're not aluminum bolts, but they're going into aluminum heads. So whenever you're working on the engine and you're screwing into an aluminum part of the engine, you can strip out these threads pretty easy if you over crank it. So just watch yourself when you're doing that. It'll be all right. I stuck in the steam pipe real quick. This one, of course, was for the truck one. So I don't know if that's going to work right there. I mean, it's just a tube, probably going to go over, or I'll have it go under. I don't know. Figure out something. Or I'll get another tube that sticks straight out. It'll be easy to change. All right, throttle body's on, and a few extra things I threw on there in the break I had with the camera of the phone. I went ahead, and it looks awesome. I went ahead and put on the sensors right here. I forgot what they are off the top of my head. But the coil packs, and the brackets, and spark plugs, spark plug wires, and realizing I'm missing some bolts. So I'll have to go to the junkyard and pick some up from another vehicle. I don't think I have any extra down here, but it's looking good. You know, I still have a flex plate to put on, but I'm gonna put on that on another day. I'll show you guys in another video. But I'm gonna end this as a not finished, but almost finished engine. I still need a fuel rail. I don't know if I'm going aftermarket or stock for the LS6, and I need injectors. Those are going to be expensive unless I can get it from the junkyard. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments or suggestions, let me know, and I will see you next time on another part of the engine or the car.